every thought you think is creating your future. And if you're living by the same thoughts, the same emotions, and the same subconscious programming, you're simply recreating the same life day after day. But what if I told you that you have the power to interrupt that pattern? That by changing your mind, you can literally change your reality. You see, the brain is not hardwired to be fixed for life. It's designed to be rewired. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your life. And when you begin to observe your thoughts, become conscious of your emotional patterns, and break the cycle of familiar thinking, you open the door to real, measurable transformation. Today, I'm going to show you how to train your brain to think greater than your environment. How to free yourself from the prison of self-doubt, anxiety, and limitation. Because the moment you start thinking and feeling from your future instead of your past, that's the moment your new life begins. Are you ready to step into the unknown and meet the version of you that's been waiting all along? Your thoughts are not just fleeting ideas. They are electric signals shaping your internal chemistry and external reality. Every time you think a thought, your brain fires a set of neurons in a specific pattern. Think that thought repeatedly, and those neurons begin to wire together, forming a habit of mind. Over time, your brain becomes conditioned to think and respond in predictable ways. Most people wake up every day and think the same thoughts, perform the same actions, and feel the same emotions as the day before. In doing so, they create the same experiences, the same outcomes, and ultimately, the same life. When you begin to understand that your thoughts are the language of the brain, and your feelings are the language of the body, you realize that your thinking and feeling patterns are creating a biological feedback loop. This loop becomes your state of being. If your thoughts are negative, fearful, or limited, your body starts to live in that emotional state, reinforcing the same chemical signals and keeping you anchored to your past. The longer you think the same thoughts, the more hardwired they become in your neural architecture, and the more you begin to identify with them. That's how beliefs are formed, not from truth, but from repetition. To change your reality, you must break this cycle. You must become conscious of your unconscious thoughts. The moment you observe a negative or limiting thought, you create a gap between the thought and your reaction. That's the space where transformation begins. It's not about forcing positive thinking. It's about choosing thoughts that align with the future you want to experience. When you change your internal state, when your thoughts begin to reflect possibility, abundance, gratitude, your brain starts to map a new future. Repetition is the way the brain learns and rewires itself. Every time you think a thought, feel an emotion, or perform an action, you are firing a specific network of neurons. When you repeat those thoughts and behaviors consistently, the connections between those neurons strengthen, and they begin to fire more easily, automatically, and unconsciously. This is how a belief is formed. Not because it is necessarily true, but because it has been reinforced through consistent repetition over time. The brain, through a process called neuroplasticity, adapts to whatever you tell it most often, whether it serves your growth or limits it. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I can't change, or I'm stuck, the brain begins to accept those thoughts as facts. It becomes easier for those patterns to play out without conscious input. Eventually, you don't even have to think about them. Your brain and body take over. You start reacting, deciding, and behaving from those unconscious programs. In this state, your future becomes nothing more than a reflection of your past. Most people try to create a new life while thinking the same limiting thoughts and wonder why nothing changes. But the same process can be used to create transformation. When you begin to think empowering thoughts, thoughts aligned with possibility, healing, success, and abundance, and you repeat them consistently, your brain begins to form new pathways. The more you rehearse who you want to be, the more familiar and automatic those neural networks become. Just like practicing a musical instrument, repetition builds mastery. You are literally training your brain to become that future version of yourself. Over time, the new thoughts become your default. You're no longer trying to be successful. You begin to embody it. And that is what makes it, you begin to, everything in the universe, including your thoughts, feelings, and body, is made of energy. When you think a thought, it carries a frequency, and that frequency has the power to influence the electromagnetic field around your body. Most people are constantly broadcasting energy rooted in fear, lack, and survival because they're emotionally tied to their past experiences. These emotional states, such as guilt, shame, anger, or unworthiness, carry low vibrational frequency. When you live in these states for long periods, your energy field becomes incoherent, and the signal you send out into the quantum field reflects limitation and resistance. In order to create a new future, you must shift your energy. You cannot attract abundance from a state of lack. You cannot manifest health from a place of stress. You must first become the energy of what you want to create. This requires becoming aware of your inner state and choosing to change it before your external environment gives you a reason to. When you elevate your emotional state through gratitude, joy, love, and inspiration, you are raising your vibration and broadcasting a coherent signal into the field. This elevated energy begins to entrain your body to a new chemistry and your brain to new patterns. The moment you feel the emotion of your future before it arrives, your body begins to believe it's already happening. The brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience in your outer world and a vividly imagined one. By sustaining elevated emotions and clear intentions, you create a new energetic signature. This new frequency becomes your new point of attraction. You're no longer reacting to your environment, you're influencing it. This is how you move from survival to creation, and from the past into the future. Your energy becomes the catalyst for lasting transformation. The body is the unconscious mind. Every time you experience an emotion, your brain releases chemicals that communicate with your body, creating a physiological response. When these emotional states are repeated, whether it's anger, anxiety, guilt, or sadness, the body becomes chemically addicted to those feelings. It begins to crave them, even if they are harmful, because they feel familiar. Over time, your body starts to anticipate those emotions before the triggering event even occurs. This is how we become conditioned to feel a certain way, and how the body begins to run the mind. People wake up in the morning and immediately begin to recall their problems, activating the circuits of the past. Those memories trigger familiar emotions, and those emotions influence the way they think. The cycle continues. Same thoughts lead to same choices, same behaviors, same experiences, and ultimately the same emotions. The body, having memorized these emotional reactions, starts to operate on autopilot. 95% of who you are by the time you're in your mid-30s is a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, beliefs, and perceptions. Subconscious programs that run without your conscious awareness. To break this cycle, you must teach your body to feel differently. You must unmemorize the emotions that are keeping you anchored to the past and replace them with elevated feelings. This means becoming aware of the emotions you live by every day and interrupting the habitual response. When you begin to notice your anger before it owns you, when you catch your anxiety in the moment it arises, you reclaim the power to choose. This awareness is the first step to freeing your body from the past. Only when the body is no longer the mind can you begin to create a new future from a place of conscious intention rather than unconscious repetition. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools for rewiring your brain because the mind doesn't distinguish between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. When you consistently visualize your future self, living the life you desire, feeling the emotions of that reality, and embodying the traits of the person you want to become, you are installing new neural hardware that begins to look like the future has already happened. This practice primes your brain to recognize and respond to opportunities aligned with that vision, and it starts the process of becoming that version of you now. When you close your eyes and mentally rehearse your ideal future, you're not just daydreaming, you are firing and wiring new neural connections. The more detailed and emotionally charged your vision is, the stronger those connections become. Over time, your brain begins to mirror that future reality. This creates what's known as a neurological map to your new self. If done consistently, with intention and elevated emotion, that mental rehearsal becomes your new default wiring. The key is emotional engagement. You must feel the joy, the gratitude, the empowerment of that future as if it is happening in the present moment. This process also conditions your body to that new emotional state. It moves from being chemically addicted to the emotions of the past to becoming familiar with elevated states like inspiration, abundance, and love. When your body feels that future before it arrives, it believes that it's already living in it. That's when synchronicities, new opportunities, and unexpected breakthroughs begin to show up, because your brain and body are now aligned with a new timeline. By visualizing your future self daily, you train your subconscious to expect, recognize, and attract the reality you've mentally rehearsed. Repetition of this practice makes the impossible inevitable. So what does this mean? Well, the way you make your promises makes a difference based on your mental rehearsal. Repetition of the subconscious mind makes a difference. The way your brain works is memory in its physical. The way your brain works is by selecting your thoughts visually.